Allison. Allison. This is for when she sits here. Okay. Okay, everybody seated? Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. And on behalf of the URI Women's Leadership Council, I'm pleased to welcome you. We're so thrilled to share the excitement as Aria Mia Loberti from my hometown launches her first book. It's difficult to believe, for me especially. It's been 20 years since Sarah Labdell, who will be here at some point, now Vice President for Development, and I convinced Michelle Donner, former Vice President of Alumni Engagement, and I'm losing my voice because I talk too much, to bring the Women's Leadership Council under the auspices of the Alumni Office in 2005. We conceived this notion that women should be encouraged to be leaders here at URI. With Michelle's support and a very small budget, I think it was like $250. I mean small. We launched our council with the enlistment of many of my fellow 1970 graduates, Marilyn Conti Sartarian, so you might know her as Marilyn Conti, and Victoria Salcone Cataldo. Our mission was simple: to encourage female students to seek leadership positions both on campus and in their future careers, and to support them by building their networking, financial, and job-seeking skills through programs, workshops, and mentoring. We also established the Women's Leadership Council Scholarship. And 2010 was the first year that we really had enough in the endowment to give money. Initially for women students, but now any outstanding leader on campus can apply for the scholarship. You'll hear more about it shortly from Marilyn Sartarian. The star of tonight's event is Aria Mia Loberti. She was one of our scholarship recipients. After hearing from Aria, you will understand the significance of the scholarship and the impact it had on young leaders. Originally women leaders, but now open to all leaders. We need leaders. I'm proud of our Women's Leadership Council, all our members, some of whom are here tonight, our scholarship donors. Without them, we would not be able to award any scholarships, and all the people who made it possible for this council to have grown over the 20 years. In 2005, I was intent on making sure that women had more of a voice at the University of Rhode Island. Now I acknowledge that any leader must be recognized and nurtured and supported. Aria will talk more about the importance of our mission as she describes her own journey. But before we hear from Aria, my fellow council member Marilyn Conti Sartarian, class of 1979, you know how old we are, is going to tell you more about the amazing impact our scholarship has had on URI students. Marilyn?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Janice, for providing some background on the Women's Leadership Council. Soon after the council was established, we set our sights in starting a scholarship for a full-time student, a campus leader who maintained a 3.0 GPA. In 2010, we were able to award $530 to the first scholarship recipient. As the council grew, so did the scholarship. Over the last 15 years, we have awarded $29,000 to deserving students, including Aria. I am pleased to announce that through the generosity of council members and alumni, our newest recipient will be receiving $5,300. We are very proud of the scholarship and other philanthropic projects, and we look forward to many years of serving the URI community. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sue Adams, Vice Provost for Academic and Faculty Initiatives at URI, who would like to offer some reflections on Aria's remarkable advocacy and leadership. In addition to being Vice Provost, Dr. Adams is a licensed child psychologist and professor of human development and family science. Her scholarship and practice focus on human flourishing, how individuals, families, and communities adjust to stress, we all know what that's about, and cultivate well-being and thrive through connections. Now, please welcome Dr. Adams to the podium.
Thank you, Marilyn. It is a pleasure to be here, and hello, everyone. So I am going to make some remarks about women in leadership. And so we know women's leadership in higher education and society takes many forms. It can be innovative, it can be bold, compassionate, visionary, and grounded in purpose. But there's no single form of leadership. Women lead in ways that reflect their values, experiences, and aspirations, shaping institutions and communities in lasting and transformative ways. Aria Mia Loberti, a proud URI alumna, beautifully exemplifies the diversity of leadership through her journey and influence. At URI, she emerged as a strong advocate for accessibility and inclusion, using her scholarship and her voice to advance equity and understanding. And from her undergraduate years at URI, Aria's poise and presence have been noticed. Her intellectual curiosity led her to a competitive doctoral program in rhetoric and communication. And later, her desire to follow her intuition led her to success as an acclaimed author and actress. Aria exemplifies someone who has charted a path defined by resilience, intellect, creative expression, and risk-taking. And earlier today, Aria and Ingrid both visited a place that's very special to me, the URI Child Development Center, to read their new children's book and to talk a little bit about the process of developing that book. This simple yet profound act of sharing her story and her heart with children in our community captures what authentic leadership looks like. It models for young people that leadership begins with connection, curiosity, and care. Aria also reminds us that leadership development starts early, when children see examples of courage and creativity and kindness embodied in those around them. Ingrid also models lessons of utmost importance in child development. She models patience, discipline, focus, and balance between gentleness and strength. Aria's journey shows us that leadership is not about visibility or title, but it is about impact. And she has used her experiences, intellect, and voice to make a meaningful impact in this world. This kind of leadership inspires others to pursue their truth, elevate their communities, and redefine what it means to lead with purpose and integrity. So now, please welcome up to the podium, Ms. Aria Mia Loberti and Ingrid.
Maybe she could go on duty and then we can do a little off duty and she gets some treats. So, okay. This is so beautiful. And now Ingrid is a professional again and she exemplifies the leadership as opposed to goofiness. It's very good. Oh my goodness. I don't happen to have a handheld. Do I? No, just for the Q&A.
Okay. Well, this works. Hi. It's, wow, that's a lot of people. How are you doing? I was trying not to look at all of you. I was sitting over there trying to blend into the wall, but that's okay. I'm really not that cool, so thank you. It's very good to be here. This is always going to be like my special place, and so it's really incredible to be back on campus and to be here the actual day that this book releases and Ingrid just leaves. Ingrid, sit please. You can stare at Molly all you want. She has traits. It's great. Before we get started with, I have a fun slideshow for you, which works for, we've discovered, ages like 3 through infinity. So I'm very excited to get to share it with you because it has some really funny photos. But before we get started with that slideshow, I would like to just stop and take a moment and just say thank you to everyone. I know that this event was a lot more than what I really ever expected. I emailed a couple of people and I had asked if potentially I could see what the rates would be to rent a room for a book signing. And I was like, well, maybe I could borrow a room. Maybe it will be okay. And yeah, and it turned into a wonderful day of events that started with the Child Development Center, which I'd never been to before, and it was an absolutely extraordinary opportunity for me to get to go there. I don't think I've ever been in a room full of so many well-behaved, articulate, polite children. It was really wonderful. And then I got to see some very well-behaved and articulate college students as well, so that was excellent. But it reminds me every time I come back here, and I graduated about 5 years ago. Every time I come back here, I'm just in awe of how wonderful this place is. Thank you. So many of you. Oh my God. Okay. So many people. But yeah, and every time I say this, I choke up, and I don't usually cry this hard, but I think I haven't slept in like 3 days, and so that's part of it. But you know, the URI, in all seriousness, and every time I say this, I tear up. URI was the very first place that somebody who wasn't a blood relative of mine told me that I mattered. And to be able to go into a classroom surrounded by people, I had been homeschooled, so I hadn't been in a classroom in many, many years, and just feel like I was part of something bigger than myself. And then I come here today and I need a Kleenex. God, it means a lot to me, and I'm very grateful. And I think oftentimes I struggle with feeling like I meet the expectations of how you described me, because I don't feel that way. And then I remember that a lot of, I think, young people, college students, thank you so much. A lot of young people and college students need a reminder that, like, doing this in front of an audience is okay. And being afraid and not feeling worthy is okay. And don't let it get in the way of your power. But it's okay to feel insecure and to not feel sure of yourself. And I feel like, to quote Taylor Swift, I've fake it till you make it, till it's true, until you do. And I feel like I've hopefully done at least partially. And Ingrid's just left the chat. But I would like to take a moment to thank not only I know at least a handful of my professors are here today, and that means more to me than I can express, because you absolutely are not obligated to be here, and it's midterms and you're probably exhausted, and I really appreciate that you came, because being a part of each and every one of your classrooms has helped me become the person that I am, and has given me the confidence every day to get up and try to make a difference in the world. And I'm remarkably grateful to this community. I didn't come into college with a lot of financial security that I could pay for it. And my parents helped me however they could, but like the reality of a college education in this day and age is that it is prohibitively expensive. And so I depended a lot on the URI Foundation to be able to stay here for 4 years, so to be able to get that degree and to make that reality happen. And I obviously could not drive, and it was very important that I could live on campus. So that was an added expense. And there are just so many different expenses that are connected to getting your degree, and it seems so impossible. And it is because of the foundation and because of the Women's Leadership Council that I was actually able to get my education at all. And I'm so grateful that that scholarship is flourishing and seems to be like even better than ever. And I'm so grateful to all of you, to the council. So could we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you. Before we get into this adorable photo, I would like to just say one more thing. I know that there are at least a handful of current students. And I know that, like, it is so, like, sometimes it's just so harrowing to be in the middle of that degree and know that, you know, you have, like, how many more mountains to climb until you get there. And, you know, obviously there's the financial burden, but the burden of your time and how much seems to be on your shoulders. And I'll talk a little bit about this over the course of the next few minutes. But you know, I came here and I thought I was going to leave a scientist. I thought I was perhaps going to be a physician of some kind. I wasn't really sure, but I had a lot of questions about how we work as human beings, and I thought that was going to be the answer. Studying science, I was always good at science. I got good grades in high school. And for those of you who are maybe questioning your path, it took me a really long time, and it took me exposure to this wonderful campus community and to all of the offerings here to realize that there are different ways to answer those questions. There are different ways to figure out your why. And one question can have thousands of answers, and one answer will speak to you very differently and will help guide you towards your path. And I ended up not graduating with a science degree at all, but with 3 humanities majors and 2 humanities minors. And then I moved to England and got my master's, and moved back to America and went to Pennsylvania, and I started my PhD. And I'm still asking all of the same questions, but I'm not tackling the questions the same way anymore. And I think in college I was so caught up on I need to be able to fit a very particular mold and outline, and if I don't do it in a traditional way, it's not going to make sense, and I'm not going to be able to support myself, whether that was financially, emotionally, or just in general with my own happiness. And I think if I could go back and tell myself anything throughout my college experience, it would be that, like, the universe has your back. It really, really, really does. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it, and sometimes it is a struggle. But make the decisions that feel good for you and your heart, and things are going to work out. And I hopefully, even if you're not in college, hopefully that is at least a somewhat okay reminder. And I think now it's time to turn our attention to Ingrid, who is asleep, but it's fine. So all here today to celebrate I Am Ingrid, which is Ingrid's own story in her own words. But Ingrid, once upon a time, could not tell her own story in her own words. She still can. But here she is with her brother, Ichabod. I believe he's on the left and she's on the right, but I'm not totally sure. And she had very big dreams, as I'm sure all of you had and still have. And Ingrid had, I don't know, I think we'll learn about this as we read the story together, but I think Ingrid had this incredible drive, and sometimes her confidence in herself is a little bit misplaced. But I know most of you already know the symbolism of a guide dog harness or a service dog vest, and that takes a lot to learn and to earn. And it's sort of like when we were talking to the Child Development Center kids, we were talking about how it's sort of like how a princess or queen has to earn their tiara or their crown, and how, like, that takes so much time and skill and effort, and they have to just be an expert in everything. And that's very much what goes into this, because not every single dog who gets to, you know, study these things gets to go on and have that job. And I Am Ingrid celebrates one of the many dogs who have succeeded, but also I hope we'll get to educate kids and kids at heart about, you know, the beauty of these animals, but also the, like, confidence that we have inside ourselves and how important it is to sustain that confidence, even when sometimes we have to fake it till we make it. And so, without further ado, I feel like some of you may have not had a bedtime story read to you in a while. So I think it would be fun to just read the whole book. And as I read, you're welcome to follow along if you have a copy, but the pictures and everything will be up on the screen. Hopefully that will make things easier. But this is I Am Ingrid, and it is officially out now, which is like crazy. This is I Am Ingrid, written not by me, but by Ingrid, and illustrated by Vivian Toe, who is absolutely extraordinary, and I hope you enjoy some of Vivian's art. But without further ado, and I will do my best to embody Ingrid to the best of my ability. Hello, I am Ingrid. I live at a place called Guide Dogs for the Blind. I always eat every single bite of my breakfast and my dinner, and I love to play with my mom and my siblings. Guide dogs are wise and brave, and they get to go on adventures in their special harnesses. I would make a good guide dog. Out cold. Ingrid. Nothing? No, okay. I thought when I started saying guide dog and Ingrid, she would... No, okay. Mom agrees. I will need to work hard, she says, and maybe grow into my paws first. Lots of friendly people come to see me. It must be because I am Ingrid, and I am very beautiful and impressive and funny. One afternoon, a family visits me. There she goes. Ingrid. One afternoon, a family visits me. They snuggle me and give me treats. They say they will teach me the skills I'll need to become a guide dog. Thank you. Like staying in front of your person while they read a book. Not for anything. They even give me a vest. It says, I am Ingrid, the smartest and most important dog ever. It fits me perfectly. Clearly. Thoughts? Nothing. Okay. Mom was right. Learning to be a guide dog is hard work, but I am Ingrid. And I do not make a single mistake. For each skill I master, I get lots of praise and a treat. Treats are my favorite. I have never eaten anything I'm not supposed to. Clearly. When I am out with my family, it is important for me to keep my focus on them. Even if the stinkiest, most delicious piece of cheese is on the ground right in front of me, I cannot eat it. I'm far too busy. I am allowed to go many places other dogs are not. That is because I must prepare for all of the adventures I'll go on when I become a guide dog. I learn everything I can about our magical, loud, smelly, wonderful world. And I grow, and I grow, and grow. My paws are still a little too big for my body, but that's okay. I am Ingrid, and I am perfect, just the way I am. Soon, it is time for me to return to Guide Dogs for the Blind to show off how much I've learned. I trade my puppy vest for a real guide dog harness. I am one step closer to achieving my dream. But I still have a lot of learning to do. I meet my trainer, Adam, and he teaches me how to lead the way. I learn about left and right turns and how to move forward in a neat, straight line. Personally, I would rather zigzag and twirl when we walk. Straight lines are boring. But if I go straight, I get more treats. I weave through crowds. I learn about revolving doors. And I master riding the escalator, wearing special boots to protect My paws. I never said she liked them. When we walk together in the park, I find my way around all sorts of obstacles with Adam, even low-hanging tree branches, and looks at least a couple of squirrels, which is cool. My favorite thing to do is visit the big, busy city with Adam and learn about safely crossing streets. If I pass another dog on the crosswalk, I do not stop to say hello. If I see a tiny person holding an ice cream cone, I do not stop and take a slurp. I am Ingrid, and I am working. My job is important. Is it, Ingrid? No. Is it good? Is it an important job? Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry, I'll tell them. It's good. I also learn that sometimes it is best to not follow instructions. Adam asked me to walk forward, but suddenly a car zooms in our path. I dig in my paws and won't let Adam cross until it is clear. No matter what kind of obstacles are in our way, we can find a way around them together. Adam tells me I have one more part of my training. I must meet my person, the one who will go on adventures with me. Another trainer named Kelsey will help us work together as a team. I do not know what Adam will do now. He'll be lost without me. And she got over that quickly enough. My person's name is Aria. I jump into her lap and wiggle as much as I can. Aria says she dreams of traveling the world someday, but for now she is in school, like me. But she is not studying to be a guide dog. People cannot be guide dogs. Every day, Ari and I walk together for miles and miles while our trainer, Kelsey, watches us and gives us tips. Aria loves the city, just like me, and she loves to go fast, too. Sometimes she even does a little leap as she is walking. She always laughs when I join in. We also practice our skills with another guide dog named Joyce and her person, Jessica. On our breaks, Joyce and I play together. It was Joyce's birthday yesterday. I learn everything I can about Aria so that I can prepare for our adventures. She likes visiting the library and the gym and the coffee shop. I always show her these places whenever we walk by. Once, in the grocery store, Aria stopped to look at flowers. Now, anytime I see flowers, I bring her over to them every single time. It's great. We have a book signing coming up that's actually in a flower shop, and that's, you're saying, it's going to be a lot. I learned that Aria sometimes gets headaches if she is out in bright sunshine for too long. The next time we walk in the park, I get a brilliant idea. God bless you. I lead Aria to the shade of the big trees. I am Ingrid, and I am a genius. Great. At night, Aria and I stay in our own special room next door to Joyce and Jessica. Bless you. I like to chew on my bone while Aria reads her book. When it's time for bed, I know I am supposed to curl up in the kennel beside Aria's bed, but Aria asks if I would like to cuddle instead. We fall fast asleep.
After 2 weeks of learning with Aria, the day finally comes. I have officially completed my training. Guide Dogs for the Blind holds a big celebration. I'm pretty sure it's just for me. I am Ingrid, and I am a fully qualified guide dog. Aria and I are ready to set off on our adventures together. But first, Aria says I should see my new home. 10 points to Gryffindor. Anyone can guess where that's going to be. To get there, we board something called an airplane. I love it. It's big and loud and a little stinky. Everything my training has prepared me for. I snuggle up at Aria's feet for the long ride. When we get off the plane, Aria's family is waiting to see me. They present me with a string of sparkling pearls to wear around my neck. There you go. I am Ingrid, and I am part of a team now, but I am still one of a kind, and I am fabulous. After all, not all guide dogs wear pearls. So it was such a treat to write this book, and it was not the book in many ways that I expected to write. But before we get into a lot of that and more what has happened since this book technically ended 8 years ago, we'll start at the very beginning because Ingrid and I, we both came kind of a long way, and so you know how Ingrid came, like as far as she came to get where she is today, to be sleeping flat out on this floor. She had a really long day though. But I also, I grew up dreaming about getting a guide dog. I always wanted to get a guide dog, and it was just something that to me seems so extraordinary and magical, how a dog could be in charge of helping you in that way. And as someone who grew up with low vision, but still a lot of usable vision, I felt like there were a lot of tools that were designed for people in the blind and low vision community that just didn't really work for me because most of them had been designed with people who were totally blind or closer to it than me in mind, like a cane. And so while I learned how to use those tools, I never felt like they were the best. I never felt as independent as I could. And I was hoping that getting a guide dog would be part of, what would make me feel essentially like me. And so I literally younger than that picture was taken, I was like, one day I'm going to get a black lab guide dog. And it was something I always talked about. And so when I got Ingrid, it was my freshman summer going into sophomore year, and it was in June. I was doing the summer term, and so we came right on campus and went right into summer classes, and it was really wonderful. I saw such a big difference in my freshman year, my independence in my freshman year to the independence I had in my sophomore year. And like I said, I wasn't really a cane user or anything. I definitely found my way around. And but when I got her, I was like, wow, this is there are so many places that I can go. And even if I don't know how to find a particular place, I at least have somebody with me now who's going to help me. And I think the most important part of that was, when I tell the story to kids, I'm often when you're kind of shy and you don't want to
like go up to somebody and say hi, but then they have a cute dog and you're like, oh, I could go over and say hi to the dog, but I'm not going to say hi to the person. And like that's sort of what happened, because Ingrid led me over. I guess it happened in reverse because Ingrid led me over to my best friend now, and so Molly and I went with one of our professors, Dr. Carpenter in classics, who's amazing. We went with him to Rome with a few other students. And we had already been friends through Molly's dog. Molly was one of the puppy raisers for Guiding Eyes for the Blind. So that story about Ingrid's family and how they volunteered and brought her different places to introduce her to the behaviors that she'll need to be a guide dog. Like that's something that anybody can do. And it's something that here on URI campus, we're very lucky to have a puppy raising group active that supports dogs for Guiding Eyes for the Blind. And Molly's dog was one of them. And so Ingrid brought me basically over to her dog, and our dogs were friends. And then eventually, begrudgingly, we were like, yeah, I guess we should be friends too. And now Molly's still here running the slides. And Molly is also an alum. So that's awesome. Yeah. And yeah, so when oh, there we go. Oh, maybe, oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. So Molly's dog Etta, she's there on the left on the top. Also on the left on the bottom. You can tell it's her because we kind of right picture, left dog. So right on the bottom picture, left dog. It's fine. You can do your own commentary, okay? And so you can tell it's Ingrid because of the pearls. You can tell it's Etta because it looks like Ingrid, but she's been stretched out a little bit. But it's okay. We love her. And Etta, it was actually really devastating because Etta has like the absolute perfect behavior demeanor for a guide dog, and she got one too many ear infections, and she didn't get her harness. But Molly and I are very goodbye. Okay, but she had a really long day. But Etta now gets to live with us. So Molly and I and Ingrid and Etta, we both get our best friends, and we both get to enjoy life all together. And so while I'm very disappointed that she didn't get to follow her dream because she absolutely loved working, I'm very selfishly very grateful that she's our dog. And also, I'd like to point out the yellow lab who is bottom left, right dog, Molly. And top, who Ingrid is very rudely, non-consensually kissing. And she is a British guide dog. Her name is Lucy, and Lucy has actually since retired. She's enjoying her retirement. But Ingrid, when I moved to England to get my master's degree there, Ingrid just brought me over to Lucy and her person Sky, and yeah, I'm going to be in Sky's wedding next year, so I think Ingrid's 2 for 2. Oh, good, okay. So, obviously, being a guide dog is a lot of work. We've learned a lot about the work that guide dogs have to do, but it's also a lot of fun. And Ingrid gets to go on a lot of different adventures. Sometimes it involves eating ice cream. Now, she is semi-retired now. We will get into that in a little bit. But she gets to still enjoy the rights, privileges, and exceptional behavior that comes with being a guide dog. But she can be a little bit looser. And so she's an ice cream person. That really, I wish I couldn't find a picture of her with a Brickley's cup. I really wanted it to be Brickley's cup. That's her favorite. She knows Brickley's by name. This is her in the middle. We were at a very posh afternoon tea in England. That it was during COVID, so my parents, like, I couldn't see them for the holidays. And one of my gifts from my parents was to go to afternoon tea, and it was lovely. And the staff was very, very nice. We ate outside, and then they said, you can let your dog run around in the garden. And I was like, oh, amazing. She didn't have very many places to run around outside in England because of the lockdown, and it was just very difficult. And she decided that was going to be a great opportunity to roll in some fox poop. So that is Ingrid rolling in fox poop. And then also apparently sometimes when you're a guide dog you run into goose. I don't know. We were just walking in Paris, and she sat down next to this goose. So there are many different adventures and things that may come up for you when you are a guide dog. And I don't think we expected the next adventure. Like once I departed my grad program in England and I moved back to the U.S. and moved to Pennsylvania, I don't think we expected that we were going to move back to Europe within a matter of a few months, but we did. And I've spoken a little bit about already being open to, asking questions and receiving different answers to those questions and just being open in general. And I think that's been a big theme as I never had acted before. I never taken a theater class. The one theater class that I did enroll in at URI, I dropped out of. I left early in the semester, not because I didn't enjoy it, but because I was just overwhelmed with grad school applications and work and everything. But you have to be open to what life throws at you, and this is certainly not what I expected. I had heard from a teacher who I hadn't heard from in years, actually, since I don't even know, it was years. And she texted me and she was like, "Hey, how you doing? I found this global casting call search for an actress who has low vision, and I would love it if you would apply. I could see you doing this." And I was like, "That's so nice of you," but no. And I said I wouldn't do it, but I was just really happy because obviously I've done a lot of advocacy stuff, and growing up that was always something vision and different types of vision were things that were treated very badly by the people around me. I mentioned that coming to URI genuinely was the first time that anybody had told me that I mattered, and that very much revolves around the way people treated me because of my sight. And it was just to be able to come to URI and have all those people just be like, "You matter," and this is something about your perspective of the world that matters and makes the world better because you're in the room and you can tell. You can give this perspective, and it was just incredible, and it was outrageous. And I was so grateful that I saw that casting search come through, and that there were people at Netflix who obviously understood that casting someone in a role who was low vision or blind was very important when it came to playing a blind character, because there's been this norm of when we have a role with any type of disability or really any type of marginalized group, that's whatever it is that's not privileged in our culture. We have an urge to be let's take the easy way out. We might ask some questions, we might do a little bit of research, but it doesn't really matter how this is embodied. We want to tell the story in a way that feels comfortable for us, and that's not always the right way to tell a story. And I just thought that was wonderful, and I said no. And then I decided that, I'm having a really bad day. I'm really struggling right now. I am going to say yes. And I sent them an email, and they sent me back a script. And like an idiot, I did one take, and I didn't know how scripts work because, like I said, I'd never taken a theater class, and I dropped out of the one theater class that I was in. And I read my lines, and then I read the lines for the other character in the scene who was supposed to be my character's father, and I just read them on my own together. It was bad. And I sent it in, and I say this in all seriousness. I am not saying this to be self-deprecating. I'm really, really not. I think they saw the tape, and they were like, that is a person who is willing to make an absolute fool out of themselves, and we are going to look at her because, that's a big part of acting, and I didn't realize that. And they call me back and call me back and call me back and call me back, and then 3 weeks later, they said, "Can you get on a Zoom call?" I get a text message. I was like, okay. So I called my mom, and I'm like, "Oh, guess what? I did this thing." She's like, "Okay, I guess." And I had given her a little heads up, I think a few days prior to that, when I got called in to talk to the director, and I was like, I better tell somebody that this is happening. And so I called my mom and dad, and I was like, "Look, this is happening." They called me to go on a Zoom. This whole big thing happened. I need to figure out what to say, because I know they're not going to take me, but I need to encourage them, please, to keep looking for somebody who is blind or low vision. And I practiced a speech, and I didn't get to give the speech because I got the role. And a couple months later, this is where I showed up, and Ingrid got to come every step of the way. This is me learning how to act because I didn't know that acting on camera involves more than just the director and a lighting dude. I thought that that was kind of it, and apparently it's like 300 to 400 people, and it is incredibly complicated, and sets are very big and very scary, and everything costs a lot of money, and if you blink or sneeze the wrong way, you've cost them $5 trillion. And so I had to learn everything, and Ingrid obviously is trying to learn with me, and she did all right. She figured it out. She mostly hung out in the trailer, and people would come give her bananas. But that's okay. And she did provide, I think, a lot of comfort and help for everybody on set. There were a lot of times where, like, I didn't want her to come to set because if you've seen All the Light We Cannot See, or if you've read the book, a lot of those scenes are very sad, and I didn't want Ingrid to see me sad. So sometimes she would wait and hang out on another part of set, and other times, I probably should preface this by saying Molly came out too. yeah. And the director, very big, famous director, took one look at Molly. He's like, "You're hired." And so Molly got hired on set. So she came to set every day. And sometimes she would take Ingrid, so Ingrid wouldn't have to worry about watching me cry or shoot Nazis. And so that was a cool experience for everybody, I think. And much like being a guide dog, learning acting and becoming an actor is very ridiculous a lot of the time, which is why I do genuinely think that me making an idiot out of myself in my first audition was what got them to be like, "Oh, this person would be okay at this job." I've had to learn how to do some weird things. Fencing is one of them. It was really fun and hard. I do actually kind of miss it. Also, getting mushrooms glued on my face. That took like 3 hours, which was really beautiful. There's a time-lapse video somewhere that I couldn't find for this, but it's like the artistry in filmmaking. It was really cool. And as somebody who comes from like a rhetoric background, and I had always been so hyper-fixated, even though I learned in my classes otherwise, that like to me rhetoric was language and words. And obviously you learn about symbols of all kinds, but I was so fixated on the history of words and the power of the words we use that oftentimes it kind of flew over my head, like the power of other kinds of art and symbols, and just the significance that every piece of filmmaking has for us in telling stories that end up shaping who we are. And people like watch and listen to these stories during their free time, and they could do anything with that free time, and that really does shape who you are. And I'm like, just seeing the like level of artistry and time that prepping a movie, but also like being an actor and prepping role has been like a really cool learning experience for me. And Ingrid has been very lucky. She's gotten to do a lot of like photo shoots and things with me. And as you can see here, trying to be very serious on the left, kind of failing at being serious on the right, and like just giving up in the middle. And yeah, they always tell me when when I'm on a red carpet, they always tell me to not smile so big. Which you usually think like with women, like they're usually like, you should smile more. And they're usually like, please, your whole face is now distorted and your makeup you're supposed to look like you're like fierce and you're just smiling. So that's been a part of both of Ingrid's and my learning experience, and arguably Ingrid's doing a very good job. But Ingrid's also gotten to go on some of the most like prestigious, like biggest Hollywood red carpets. I don't think I have the rights to use the photo of her at the Golden Globes, but she was actually the very first dog at the Golden Globes, which is really amazing. And this on the left is us at the Toronto International Film Festival, and that was one of the biggest red carpets. And like, it's a really big film festival, and it was amazing to go. But moments like that, I always realize like I'm the only person I ever really saw, give or take maybe one or two people over the course of the last 2 years that I've been acting. Granted, it's not been a long time, but like considering that people with disabilities are a quarter-ish of our population, and I haven't really ever seen anybody with a mobility or a visible disability on a red carpet besides me. And when you realize that people behind the camera and in front of the camera do not represent our entire world and the beauty of that whole world, I think it makes us all want to make a little bit of change and see things differently in the future. And I'm really glad that I get to be someone who helps make that happen. But over the last year, it's taken a little bit of a different turn, so to speak, than I had expected. So I had mentioned before that I had low vision, and that I very much implied at any rate that it was very variable. And so in bright daylight, I've tried to approximate it as best I can. This is what my vision would look like. Why are the slides like? It's wacky. It's fine. It looks nicer than that for me. It's okay. So anyhow, but the picture's fine. But that was the best approximation I could get of what my vision looked like in bright daylight, or it would have been in lighting like this as well. And in dim light, so I guess more of like a home environment, or maybe if we were to step out into the parking lot right now, that was more of an approximation of what I would see and how I would see. This one I think is very accurate. That's like maybe 80% accurate. It was hard to get that one just so. And now, over the last year, there's been a bit of a development. I have gotten the opportunity to try different contacts. I have never worn contacts before, maybe 2.5, 3 years ago on the set of All the Light, where the director asked if I could open my eyes outside, and I couldn't. I said no. And so one of the solutions for that problem was a tinted contact lens, and I was like, that's amazing. And so I started to wear the contacts at work, and then started to wear them for like modeling and red carpets and those types of things. And then I went on to another movie set, and I got to work with another a contact lens specialist. And through that process, I was able to find a pair of contacts and a tint, or a couple of tints that work for me, that actually have corrected my vision, even when I'm not wearing them. So they've acted actually as physical therapy. So like the same way you'd have physical therapy for like, I'm gonna pull my dad out. My dad broke his foot. Sorry, it's not funny at all. But like, if you have to have for like physical therapy for like a broken foot, and over the time you practice and those muscles get stronger and it gets better, that's sort of what happened. And that wasn't something I anticipated. I didn't go into getting contacts for anything more than I want to be able to open my eyes outside without glasses. I wasn't looking to see any better. I just wanted to do that one thing. So that was a surprise to me, and that means that now my role as this, I came in as sort of this representative, this first in the industry of somebody who had low vision, who could authentically portray characters who were blind or had low vision, and bring that honesty and that lived experience to the screen. And while I still have that lived experience, as you can tell here, I am a sighted person now, and that is a lot for me to handle. And I realized that my perception of my own vision impairment and my experience of it, while authentic and honest and still very genuine, is not present anymore. And that, to me, as an advocate for authentic representation and change in Hollywood, the same way I wouldn't want a sighted actor to portray a blind character, I can't do that myself, and and that is very difficult, because I thought that would be a trail that I would continue to blaze, and that I would be able to push the barrier of playing sighted people as a low vision person. And now I'm looking at, entering this industry, or continuing in this industry as a sighted actress. And that's been really challenging and very interesting artistically, and I've had to learn a lot. And I've had a year to adjust and a year to focus on this beautiful book, and to be able to at least say that through my writing, whether it's this book or another book that I am working on that I hope will be able to be on folks' shelves sooner rather than later, that in my writing I can draw on that authentic voice and that experience that I had, and tell those stories through my writing, because it is not embodied in the same way. And I hope that the work that I do on screen, the work that I did with things like All the Light and Spiderwick and Grey's Anatomy, I hope that things like that will allow casting directors and producers and those with power to be able to understand that our filmmaking is better when we include everybody in it. And I'm very, very excited that Molly and I have taken a very big and kind of frightening, we'll see how good it is, leap to start our own production company. And I really hope that through that we'll be able to continue to make some change in the industry for all types of people. But we're really focusing on, you say it better than me, you wrote the mission statement, but but like we're really focusing on like women whose voices haven't been heard and stories who haven't been told, and to be able to like say this is it's not the change that I thought it was going to make, it's not the body I thought I would inhabit, and but I can still make the change, and I get to do it with people I love, and I think hopefully do work that matters. And as for Ingrid, oh no, I forgot about that slide. Oh no, I thought that, no, okay. Oh well, anyway, I can read books in the sun now. I could only do them in a dark room before, as the book illustrates me with like the book in a very dark room. Bright sunshine, really cool. Also, one of my favorite authors, Kristen Harmel. You should read her book; she's great. Museum, going to a museum, really cool. Got to see Julia Child's kitchen with my own eyes, which was like freaking crazy. And so that was really neat. Before, I had experienced it with an audio described headset, and sometimes when you get to go to museums, you get to like experience things by touch. And so what I've realized is like my experience of going to museums is very different. Not better, but very different. And I love like now being able to juxtapose like what I understood about things before with how I can understand them differently now. And as somebody who's like always a student, I just feel like I'm a student of this now. And I got to see my favorite and Ingrid's favorite play, Hamilton, in the very back row with my cousin. And I could see the buttons on Hamilton's coat. So that is like, it was really cool. And now on to Ingrid. So Ingrid is 10. I think I may have mentioned that, but she's 10 years old. And she is absolutely spectacular. As she has, I think, just gotten, as you could see, increasingly sassy. But her behavior and her guide work is still excellent. And she definitely is a wonderful worker still. And I have no intention of formally retiring her because she seems so happy. And she just seems so alive when she's working. And like even today, she had such a long day. Like we literally got up at like 7 and we were on the road at 8, and she's been going through this whole thing, and she's so happy. And with my vision being corrected, I think I really get to appreciate the incredible work that Ingrid's done that I could only understand before in theory. And so we are still together as a team, even though she spends a lot more time now with my parents when I'm traveling. But she will be able to take the entire book tour with us, which is a whole 3-week cross-country experience. And hopefully through this, everyone can understand the beauty of Ingrid. And yeah, that is the story of the book and how I got from the end of the book to here. And I don't know, are we doing? I don't know what's happening. What are we doing? Questions?
Can we clap for you? You're fantastic.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know how we want to do this. One of the weird things I've noticed about my vision in bigger rooms is like as awesome as it is to see everybody's faces. Every time I go to a thing where people call on people, it's now like you in the blue shirt, and I still can't see color. So I don't know how we want to handle Q&A. All right. Is Ingrid part of the Q&A team? I feel like Ingrid's she's going to sleep well. Okay. I'm sorry, actually.
Hi, Aria.
Hi.
Michelle Fonts here from Cells. Way back in the day when you used to be in my office as a freshman. It is amazing to see you like this now.
Please don't cry. Oh my.
I'm sorry. I remember you coming to my office and you were scared.
Yes.
And you and your mom came and sat with me, and you just grew and bloomed in a way I've never seen. So I'm very proud of you. And now that you have
can't look at you.
I'm sorry. Now that you have the sight that you have, I want to know how you're experiencing just going through life now. Like once that happened, because the only way that I've known you is dealing with your low vision.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing things in a whole different way. How are you feeling with that? Because that's fairly new for you.
Yeah. Oh, I think, well, I get to speak to a class of students today, and the professor actually asked me a question about like the catharsis sort of writing a book and how that works, and like the taking the courage to take the first step in writing the book. And Molly and I actually had a conversation last night in the car, and I got in the car and I said I closed the book at the first ever book signing I ever had, and I closed the book and I feel like I closed the book metaphorically, and like that was really frightening because I feel like and I said this to Molly last night, I feel like somebody died. It's really weird. Like there's like someone and they're still with you. Like there's like, when you, I don't know, like people believe different things, but like when you're like, there's an angel still watching over you and still sort of with you, and like their presence is with you. And like maybe it's somebody like, I'm going to quote All the Light, but like at the end of All the Light, there's like a phrase that's like the people you love, they're all around you, and like flowers and songs and like beautiful things in the world, and they're with you. And I'm like, that's sort of how I feel about this, if that makes sense. I'm like, that's still with me. Like my memories are still that way. And in a lot of ways, my mannerisms have had to change. Like obviously my mannerisms are quite different. But what I've learned is that it's a different experience. It's just different. And I think part of the grief comes from the recognition that and this comes from like me coming to office and being really scared, I think, is part of the grief comes from the recognition that now I have all those privileges that I didn't have before. And I can really recognize, like I fought so hard to make sure that things would be fair and equal and that I would get my education and that other people also would get their education. Because I recognized from like, since I was like 4, that this wasn't an isolated issue. I wasn't an isolated issue. Everyone in their own way struggles, but like kids with disabilities have it really hard, and they're often just denied things that they're entitled to, education being one of them. And it's really difficult for me to have those privileges now and have that ease when I fought so hard to make sure that those rights were met. And now I understand how easy it is on the other side to do some of that stuff and to make the world more accessible, and coming at it from both sides I think has really it's filled me with a lot of determination, I guess, to do better for people and to try to make change and do better. And like I understand sometimes I'm not always the best person to do that, but like I want to still do better. Does that answer the question? That was a very deep
much
question.
so. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I miss you.
Hi, Tom Zorabedian. You must have worked in half the offices on campus, but
Yeah, pretty much. I was everybody's work study student, believe me. Yeah.
you worked in our office in arts and sciences, and I remember when you would bring Ingrid in.
Yeah.
And she was on the job.
Yes.
Didn't seem to falter. And then you would give her, I don't know, a coffee break.
Yeah.
And she'd run into my office and jump on my
Yes.
lap. And I was like, wow, this is like a regular dog.
That's just a regular dog, yeah.
And then you do whatever, and she'd go right back to work. It's just
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I'm so, I don't even know if I get to say I'm proud, but I am proud of you, not only for you yourself, but also a wonderful representative of a great university.
Thank
and it's
you.
so nice to hear you say that for the first time you felt welcomed.
Yeah.
Because that's I hear that from other students.
Yes.
And,
I definitely wasn't the only person. I heard that I heard that from when I was a student. Yeah.
and when they measure colleges and universities, that's kind of an unmeasurable thing.
Yes.
So you're a great diplomat out there, and we love you.
Thank you
So,
so much.
My question for you is actually for Ingrid.
Okay.
How is she?
She's actually like focusing right now, so it's good. Yeah.
Maybe she remembers me.
I think she might, yeah.
I'm wondering how she's doing in her new role, semi-retired. Does she wonder where is she? Where did she go for so long? Is she changed her behavior, or is she just cool with it?
I don't think her behavior has really changed. I think if anything, she's like, I think she does feel more open to like do things. Like she just walked away in the middle of the talk. Like she feels more open to do that, but she's also surrounded by people who she knows will look out for her. Like I think over the years with Molly being on set, she has gotten used to Molly being someone who she can go to if she's like, I don't want to be in the center right now. And I think that's been the only change, and that doesn't necessarily have to do with the semi-retirement. But one of the things that I've noticed is like she definitely will go to my parents when I'm traveling, because some of the travel, it can be logistically really hard to take her, even if I would want to, just for the fun of it and for the enjoyment. And like people obviously want to see her the same way people want to see her when I'm here. She's just been enjoying her life. I don't think she really notices much of a difference because to her, yeah, the behavior changes when the harness is on versus when it's off, but like it's all just one big adventure. And I don't think she knows really why my parents take her. I don't know if she thinks that they need help. I really don't. So, yeah. But she's here and she does it. She's great. I mean, I'm just excited because literally tomorrow night, the traveling part of the book tour starts.
Yeah.
And she's doing it. She's great. Most dogs retire at 8,
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's fine.
Well,
It's amazing.
thank you for coming back.
I'm so glad to. I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah.
Thank
Good to
you
see
so
you,
much.
too.
Hi. When you were talking about, all the wonderful things about URI, I had taken one semester out at California State at Chico, and I noticed such a difference in that here everything is hilly and windy, and
Yes.
over there it's flat and compact, and there were people like in wheelchairs or on crutches that I could never imagine them trying to traverse this campus.
Yeah.
It'd be so difficult.
Yeah. It's a tough campus.
And over there, it was like, as a kid, everything was like kind of uniform. And then when I was up in California, I'm like, look at all the different kinds of people that come to school and benefit from that.
Yeah.
But then I had one Ingrid question.
Yes.
I mentioned that I saw you at Belmont's, and
Yes.
what struck me and what I told my friends is that if you said, Ingrid, take me to the carrots,
Yes.
she would.
She
And
would.
I was like,
She absolutely would. Yeah.
tell me how.
Yeah. So basically, your campus question. I think the thing about URI is I can see differences now from when I left to now, and I think the change is happening, and I think it's really amazing. And I think it actually gets right to your Belmont question about how Ingrid found the carrots is because like my first semester was kind of a struggle, and like I couldn't find the buildings or whatever, and Ingrid would learn the buildings by name. And, like, I would have to, obviously, like, I would know where I was in space all the time. But, like, she would be the one to be like, oh, we're going to weave through here and we're going to go this side way. And she would know how to find the building. And it's sort of the same skill, or, like, find the classroom. It's sort of the same skill as her finding the carrots Beaumont. So, basically, there's this thing called, Molly actually might be better at explaining it. I'm so sorry. But, like, it's like a clicker training. And so we did it today at the Child Development Center, actually, where it's basically you put your like fist. So if I was going to teach her how to find the chair, I would like put my fist to the chair, and then you would either have a clicker that makes a sound, or you would go with your. There you go, and then she would put her nose to your fist, and then once she got the hang of like, okay, this is the object that I'm targeting, that your hand is on, then you would start to bring in the name. So sometimes it would be like at the beginning of the semester, I would take her, and it would either be like the professor's name or the name of the class or like whatever word I would come up with. Or at Belmont, it would be like, okay, this is where the carrots are, or this is where the celery is, or whatever. And you would do that a number of times and introduce the name, and then maybe you'd have to repeat it over a few days. But she was always really fast at it. And that's how she would learn the names of things. And sometimes that was awesome because, like, she would literally, like, if they moved something in the grocery store and she knew what it was and I told her to try to help me find it, like, I would get myself to the produce section and I would get myself over to, like, where it looked like maybe carrots would be, like, using what vision I had or using, like, even, like, smell or whatever. And then she would have to help me find them, but sometimes they would move them. And she would still, like, 9 times out of 10 be able to do it. But on campus, that was a whole other can of worms because, like, she would learn the professors' names associated with the class and associated with the room, and then also the office. And then sometimes that was very confusing, and then you would find the professor on campus, and Ingrid would be like, oh, I get a treat because I found them, right? And then it would be like them just, like, trying to, like, have a conversation with somebody or get to their next class, and Ingrid would just be, like, in front of them like this. And so I'm like, and she just didn't get that she didn't, like, to her that's the same as, like, finding anything. And so sometimes it was a little It was a little messy, but she's very good at it. She's still very good at it. Did I explain that right, Molly? Okay, thank you.
Hi, Aria.
Hi.
It's Linda.
Oh, I don't even look at you either. Hi.
Not my goal.
Okay.
Hi, Ingrid.
Hi.
Aria, knowing what you know now, with the experiences you've had, what advice would you give either to the university or to students with disabilities at the university to improve their experience?
Oh gosh. I think the biggest thing that I've learned throughout my entire college education, but particularly through actually writing this book, is how to be a self-advocate. And I wouldn't think that this book would have taught me anything more about that experience. But it really, really did. I came to campus very much a self-advocate and very much someone who, like, I had already been through the gamut. I knew that I was going to go in, and more likely than not, I was going to be questioned, and my services weren't going to get met. And I was met with something very different that surprised me, and I probably came in too harsh, perhaps. Sometimes, like, I just expected things to go wrong, and I would like students to not expect things to go wrong. But I think prepare for the best situation ever. Prepare for you to get to campus and it's going to be fully accessible and your needs are going to get met, and everyone around you is going to be fantastic. And unfortunately, that isn't always the case. So you have to have the mindset of, like, how do I approach this if something does go wrong? But you have to do it without assuming that it's going to be a fight. And I think that's very difficult for me. It was certainly very difficult at the beginning of my college career, as Michelle sort of got to a few questions ago, that I was very nervous about everything. And I think learning how you are protected and what exactly you need, and sometimes knowing what you need takes a lot of trial and error in learning, but trying to find people around you who can help you understand what you might need in a given situation is a very valuable skill for college students to learn and to have, whether or not they have disabilities. My biggest thing with over the course of the last year or so writing this book, and this transcends disability in general, but, like, you have to appreciate that you have value and power, and that when other people reflect your value and power back to you, that is not a true reflection of your value and power. You're the one who dictates that. And if you let somebody tell you that this is what they're going to do for you, and it does not match your expectation, your need, whether it's a legal accommodation for a disability or whether it's something like a business plan, you have to be the one to take charge and put your foot down and say no. And you can say no respectfully. And sometimes that means that you have to invest in yourself a lot of energy, sometimes money that you don't have, sometimes resources. That means you have to spend a lot of time trying to find people who can be on your side and fight the fight with you. And that can feel really impossible. And believe me, like, I did not come to URI feeling like I had anybody fighting a fight with me, because my parents didn't come with me to college. So I was like, oh, I'm on my own. It's going to be a battle. And then I found the people that I needed to find, including Dr. Derbyshire. And a lot of other people who are here today, to be honest. And as I've gone into the last 2 years of being an actor and understanding what that means and how I want to represent myself, and that it doesn't always reflect. I mean, look at me. Like, I know that I am not 6 feet tall. I'm not Botoxed. I look like I came out of 1842. I'm not the type of typical, like, stereotypical Hollywood person. And I've played the game a little bit, and I realized that that's not me, and that the power that I have is being my authentic self. And the same thing with this book is the power that I have is being able to tell the story and get it out to as many people I can get it to. And I know who I am, what my identity is, what I want to do in the world. And if people are not in it to break you down. They're not in it to be against you, even if it may feel terrible that they may have denied your access to something, whether it's disability, whether it's business plan, whatever it is. It is not on them, and it's not on you, and it's never a fight. you have to know what works best for you. And you have to remember, at the end of the day, you have your own power. You get to decide what your destiny is. They don't. And that goes for good and bad. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I would take away from anything. And certainly, actually, the biggest lesson I took away from both URI and writing this and being, for the first time, an author, business person, trying to do this and figure out the audience that it can reach. And those two things go together. And it's kind of crazy because I wouldn't have expected they would. But thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Aria, for sharing your authenticity, your entrepreneurship, a really beautiful full range of emotions. Yes. And your relationship with Ingrid.
Yes.
I also want to acknowledge Aria's parents who are in the audience, and they're sitting behind me, but I could hear them beaming with pride, and that was very special and sweet. And I want to thank the countless URI faculty and staff in the room who have supported Aria on this journey. I think it's really a testament to what makes URI so great. So with that, please join us in the lobby for a book signing and reception. We look forward to continuing the conversation there. And thank you, Aria, again for this.